So, non-invasive with around cannula. So a couple of things that came up are eSense, rise time, and rise time works for everything, and then how to set the leak compensation.
Yes.
So yesterday they were telling me that you guys have quite a few alarms when you're doing it.
Yeah.
So, and then maybe even some auto cycle sometimes where it's auto triggering. So a couple of things. Where you set the leak compensation is extremely important. So we compensate by liter per minute leak. So if you go to your clipboard, you'll see here is my liter per minute leak right here. And that's always changing depending upon the pressures. So the leak compensation, this number always has to be at least double, if not higher, than your leak. So I would probably set this somewhere around 8 or 10 truly.
Okay.
To give it plenty of room. Because what you're telling the vent when you set your decents here, is you're telling the vent, I want you to compensate for leaks up to 8 liters a minute. After 8 liters a minute, I want you to ring circuit disconnect. And so if it's right close, say we were to set this at 3, that would be pretty close. And while it may not ring circuit disconnect, you might get auto cycle because it has trouble finding that leak.
Gotcha.
So on the 840, it looks for a leak about every other breath and then adjusts. So it doesn't adjust quite as quick as other things. So your decence number always has to be at least double, if not a little bit higher, than your liter per minute leak. And that's whether it's invasive or non-invasive.
Gotcha.
But it's really important.
I'm confused because there's a video on the PB840 tutorials, and the guy was saying that you wanted to do it at least 2 higher. Maybe that's what he meant, but we got it.
Yeah.
And it might be older video too.
Well, and some people they think they got to keep it close to that.
Right.
So there was a misconception for a while that people thought whatever this number is, that it was automatically adding all that flow in, so they didn't want to turn it up too high. But in reality, this is just a limit.
Gotcha.
So it's only going to add in what it needs to.
Got
This is just like your limit. Okay?
Awesome.
So don't worry about getting it close.
Cool.
Okay. All right. So that's decence. Okay. So eSense works on how a pressure support breath shuts off. And it's a percentage of inspiratory flow. So we all have a normal inspiratory flow. And towards the end of inspiration, our flow dies off. So as we take a breath in, if I take a breath in and I reach 100 liters per minute of inspiratory flow, when my flow died off to 25 liters, the breath would shut off because 25 liters is 25%. If I had a leak at 30, my breath would just go on and on and on, and then finally shut off at this time. Okay? So sometimes, especially non-invasive, sometimes our babies need that up a little bit, like 30-35%, but don't get it up too close or you're going to shut the breath off too quickly.
Gotcha.
Right? We want them to be able to take a big sigh. But if you're looking at your flow time waveform, right? So here's our normal, machine breath, but your spontaneous breaths would be kind of close to that. Right? I'm going to get a full breath. Oh, you're not going to be able to see. Him in my lungs. Right? If I get some spontaneous breaths in there. Right? So it's looking for this die-off point where red meets yellow. So if it starts to extend out too far, then you need to turn that up a little bit because it can cause some asynchronous. So that's eSense. Don't get it up too high. You'll shut the patient off too quick.
Gotcha.
But you can turn it up a little bit if you need to. So let's talk about this high time spontaneous. This is actually a limit. So if leak compensation doesn't shut the breath off appropriately and eSense doesn't catch it, then this is a time limit. That too, don't get that too close, like 0.8, 0.9. That allows the baby to take that sigh without timing them out, but it still kind of puts a limit on there. Okay. All right, What about rise time? You ever move your rise time?
Yeah, I don't touch that. So.
I thought you said you did. It's okay. There's a lot of people that don't. It's okay. So, all right, we're gonna look at our pressure time. Okay. So what this button is, this is looking at, Servo has it too, but I forget what they call it on the Servo. And their eSense is inspiratory cycle off. Yeah. I don't know what it is on the Hamilton, to be quite honest.
I think it's just EX. Like EX.
Okay. So rise time works on this part of the breath, on your inspiration. It's how much time you're taking to get to your top pressure or your delivered volume, right? So at 50%, it's taking about 50% of our inspiratory time to get up there. If your baby looks like they need more flow right up front, then you need to turn it up. So they may need it up when they're getting lines, procedures, you're first getting them settled, they're crying a lot, they may need that rise time higher. Once they get all settled down, then you can turn the rise time back down. So it's a total patient comfort button. I think of it like the gas pedal to the breath, right? You tromp on it, you get where you're going faster, more flow gets up front, right? More fuel, or you can lay it back and let it kind of slip it. So let me show you what it looks like. So I'm going to go all the way to 100, which is going to be too much. See how it comes up and then goes back down, right? So we don't really want that pressure overshoot like that. So I would turn it back down, but you do want to make sure that you're getting, see what that does. You do want to make sure that you're getting good area under the curve. And babies are really weird. Sometimes our little babies, they don't like all that flow coming at them, so they'll need it down like 35-40%. But then other times they want that flow. Yeah. So, total patient comfort button.
Nice.
What else you got?
Those were the biggest ones. Just those sensitivity, extra support buttons. Yeah, that we just never learned about.
And if you see a button, it's active. So if you see those on even invasive ventilation, that's still active. This does not do, of course they tell me that mostly you guys stick with pressure ventilation, even on intubated babies.
Right.
So that's what I wanted to make sure of, because the 840, the leak compensation, while it works invasively, it only works in pressure control. It doesn't work in the BC plus. Actually, it can't do volume targeted ventilation. But with pressure, it works good. Know that with your Rhea cannula, you are only delivering probably about, unless you use like a NeoSeal or Cannulate, you're not getting anywhere close to the pressures you have set.
Right.
Okay. So I always make sure everybody understands that. So it is okay to use a little higher pressure.
Yeah.
Because you know you're not delivering that. REM cannula really is not approved for non-invasive ventilation. It is not FDA approved.
Really?
It is not. It is a high-flow oxygen device. Doesn't mean a lot of people don't use it, and they use it successfully.
Right.
But, yeah, it's actually off-label. How interesting.
I'm just like trying to.
You can stop going.